Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom, to another episode of The Aftermath. I'm your host tonight with my partners in crime, my brothers Keegan and Chris. Fellas, how are we doing on another gloomy, kind of frustrating, cross the line loser Monday, unfortunately, this week, fellas?
You were going to say another victory Monday. I could hear it in your
I
voice.
wanted to say
You
it.
were so used to
We
saying it.
had it, but they wanted to call
But
us back because we don't line up right.
back-to-back gloomy losses, 3 out of 4 now, like
So this close. You were this close waiting.
4 out of 6.
4 out of 6, like, yeah. It's been a
Looking
tough
like
stretch.
2019.
And I know we're going to get into all the blow-ups and stuff at the end, but let's be real. The start of this, like, outside of the blow-up, the reason the Chiefs lost to the Bills 20-17 are the same reasons they lost to the Lions, are the same reasons they lost to the Packers, are the same reason they lost to the Eagles. Like, it's just the same thing every week. You've got two players that you can rely on because your only other one that you rely on was out in Pacheco, and like that's why they lost. It's as simple as that. We're gonna talk about a bunch of things, but like that's the basis of it.
Pretty much.
It is. It is what it is. We kind of coming into the game, we knew it kind of was going to be a dogfight. The Bills were desperate; they're fighting for their playoff lives. So, being at the game, I could just see like the team was obviously galvanized, fighting for each other because the defense would get a great stop, offense would move the ball. But like Chris said, it comes down to the same thing every week: turnovers, and we don't finish in the red zone. And when you do those things every week, you don't give yourself a good chance to win. And unfortunately, this week, the offense put themselves in position to win the game, but yet another thing similar, like the multiple weeks, another penalty. At the worst times, this offense just figures out ways to lose games. And to not have their own fault, some of the calls were debatable at times, but you can't put yourself in those situations week in and week out and expect to win.
Yeah, it feels like that classic. Every time we take one step forward, we take 2 steps back, and
Always
can't
something.
get consistency moving forward. Where we're always there was at one point, I think it was I remember tweeting it out. I think it was the Josh Allen pick turnover right there with Shamari Connor, and I was like, well, great, they picked him off. That's not going to do anything because we're going to get down there close to scoring, and then we're going to have a penalty or a wide receiver drop. Now, I think we ended up scoring on that drive, but
Yeah,
the
so watch your
reality
mouth,
is
please.
that's the point where we're getting to is you can almost expect that a good drive is going to be killed by a penalty, a wide receiver drop, or a pick. I think even Justin Watson said it in the post game. Somebody was asking him about it. He goes, "Well, when we don't make a mistake, we score. When we make a mistake, this is what happens." And he's like, that's as straightforward as it can be. There's no margin for error this year.
Got to get out of your own way.
Yeah, Justin Watson, the only adult in the room as far as press conferences go after the game. And I'm not even saying that to say what Andy and Pat and Jet McKinnon too say opening his press conference where the refs had it out for us. His was almost the worst, but like I'm not even saying that was a bad way to go about it. It's just like it sucks. I can see why people are upset about it. I personally don't have an issue. I think instead of yell, you can't really yell and start singling out players to the media. Like for everyone's being like they should direct this energy to the players. I think they are. I think Kadarius Toney got his ass chewed. I think MVS has been getting his ass chewed. Like I think Juan Taylor, all these players, I think they are behind closed doors. Despite popular belief, I know there's a lot of talk about Eric Bieniemy being gone, and that's why that's on discipline. I still think that there's a level of that, maybe not to the extreme of that EB was providing, but like, what are you going to do? There's so much frustration built. What are you going to say to the media? And like, the only thing left is if you're too frustrated to where you can't keep it together and be Cortland, take the accountable route, you're not going to throw your guys under the bus. So you just got to say, the ref screwed us, which as more and more stuff comes out, like I hate blaming the refs. That's the loser mentality. That's what I always say. But there is a level of lack of consistency that does make it very, very frustrating, especially to Pat and Andy who have been there, done that, know what the protocol is.
Yeah, and Andy's not one to ever complain like that. So to hear him, and I know today he kind of didn't really walk back his comments, but kind of drew attention to some of the other stuff going on that play. But when you have a head coach who's been in the league for a long time, sitting there confused as to why something didn't go according to the typical protocol, regardless of if it's egregious or not, just typical protocol. If he has to call out somebody out, there's some frustration going on. To me, I think I had a buddy texting me. He's like, "What on earth is going on?" I was like, "To me, this was a culmination of all the frustration." And for Pat and Andy, more so Pat, with obviously his after the game reactions, it just seemed like this was the breaking point where all that frustration built up. Pat turned around, redirected it straight to the refs. Whether they deserve it or not doesn't matter. It just felt like we hit a breaking point of frustration where it's just like, exactly. I'm gonna throw this up real quick. What else could go wrong? Like
Exactly.
that's really
Exactly.
frustration hit a tipping point. Like, so you get to that point, you got to unleash it somewhere.
From Pat Mahomes' standpoint, what did he do wrong? In my opinion,
The Josh Allen thing.
I think it was more that it got caught on camera.
No. I don't have an issue with him yelling at the refs, with him throwing his helmet. I did have a little bit of an issue with him going up to Josh after the game, and it's the
Yeah.
first thing out of his mouth. Now it did kind of look like maybe Josh like asked him like, "Bro, like, why are you still so hot?"
bro. What happened, bro?
Yeah, but like, it still was a bad look. I don't know. It didn't bug me that much because, again, Pat's been perfect for 7 years. Like, it's okay. You're allowed to do this. And there was also the element, like, it's not like it was Lamar or Trevor Lawrence or these guys that we've never seen him have off the field interaction with. Like, him and Josh Allen are kind of boys. Like, there's been a few off
Yeah,
seasons in a
they're
row where
friends.
they've
Yeah,
clearly gone and hung out and done stuff. So, like, that added context makes it a little better, where it was just like, we've all been at a pickup basketball game where some shit's gone down and you're like, bro, that was some BS. Like, you just yelling at your buddy. Like, that may be what it was a little bit, but like, that was probably the worst look and the only thing I had any kind of issue with, which was very minimal from the whole ordeal.
Well, the
yeah.
national media is having a field day with
Well,
it. Like, if you turn on everything today that's not local Kansas City,
They want him to be an
Patrick
angel. He can't make
Mahomes,
Yeah.
most
mistakes.
embarrassing moment he's ever had. This and that. I'm like, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, that
He
the
was,
game ended right there after a major potential game changing play. The emotions are riding high.
Yeah.
I'm sure he probably regrets saying what he said or even in the situation he did, but like, emotions are running high. And that's the first time in his 7 years we've seen him, quote unquote, snap in front of the camera.
that
I
was
think we're
snapping.
fine. Yeah, and that wasn't even
After
the
all
worst
the
of it.
things.
I mean, they say some choice words there on the sideline, but I mean, that's to me, and we said this earlier offline. To me, we finally saw a game where, even though it didn't go how we thought, finally seeing the emotion get displayed. I mean, Andy is a very stoic character all year. He doesn't, oh yeah, we're looking forward to the challenge of playing. Okay, yeah, there's no energy, there's no excitement, nothing there. I think it was good to see some of that frustration actually come out. I don't like how it played out necessarily in the post game, as far as how much of it was directed at the refereeing specifically. Because at the end of the day, Kadarius Toney, you have to line up. You run however many routes a game. You know what you're doing. Where he was positioned, he was looking right at the ball. He should know that. MVS, you have to catch a ball when it's in the middle of your hands. Kadarius Toney has to catch the ball when it's in the middle of his hands. You just have to do these things. So I didn't like the frustration directed towards the ref specifically, but I think it was good to finally see some emotion because, at least to the fans' perspective, I have not seen anything this season that suggests they're holding guys accountable publicly. Like you said, it might be happening behind closed doors and in practice, but I think the fans need to see that they actually care about their struggles this year and are actually trying to do something about it. That's why that MVS comment last week on Friday pissed me off so much.
Yeah.
It was like, what do you mean? I'm not, nothing's wrong. I'm like, don't be an idiot. You know that you suck this year and you need to get your act together. Just step up and say, hey, I've had a bad season. I've been off this year. It's been frustrating. I'm going to figure out how to fix it. I'm going to get on the same page with Pat and we're going to go out and get it done. Instead of being stupid to the reporter and pissing off the fan base who now want to, come to Arrowhead and just like pivot outside the stadium, picketing that you should be removed from the team tomorrow. Like, just own up to your mistakes and take some accountability. And I think that's what's frustrating for the fans is we're not seeing that happen.
I personally I guess I've been in locker rooms like this where you have a really good team, you have high expectations, everybody expects you to win, and then you don't live up to it. It's very frustrating. And then I've been on teams where all you do is lose all the time, so that nobody cares how you react because they expect you to lose. I personally don't care about how players react because everybody reacts their own way. I've seen Cam Newton in the Super Bowl say, "I don't want to talk to the media." And people say, "Well, why would you do that? He just lost the biggest game of his life. How would you react?"
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes was very frustrated with the call. I get it. I've seen players drop a pass and say, "I'm not going to talk to the media at all." Seen players in the NBA Finals like, oh, we're not going to do our media credibility. I'm like, why? Just because you lost the game, so you can't talk to the media now? So, like, I've always seen players react in a good way or a bad way. That's why I don't care, because that literally happens every week. People just pick and choose what to get mad about. In this specific situation, them saying what the refs did or did not do, I think it's credible, because I think we all agree that, like, these calls aren't being consistently made. Whether you agree with them saying it after the game or not, either way, it needed to be said. Like, hey, you guys aren't doing your job. The offense has to be accountable to themselves before anything. I agree with that. But somebody had to say, hey, you're really not doing your – in the biggest moments, your handprint shouldn't be on the game, in my opinion. That's why, like, I wasn't too crazy about the call to MVS, even though it's a clear and obvious PI. But if you're not going to call it, okay, if you're going to let us finish the game, let us finish the game. If you were going the whole day without calling it, then you call it at the end. That's where the frustration is. Like, where's this been all game? And now you want to do it. It's like you didn't say anything for 60 minutes, and now all of a sudden you got something to say. So that I think that frustration is valid. Now, should Andy say something about it? Of course they're going to have an opinion. Like, bro, we're playing this game for hours and hours. Guys are going through pain and injury and all these things. And for you to lose a game like that, I'll be pissed off too. So I'm not going to blame people for being human. Like Pat being frustrated, yelling at Josh or whatever. It is what it is. MVS, like, we always have one player that people don't like, whether it's Justin Reed at one point, MVS, Tyrann Mathieu for a part of his season, Frank Clark. There's always somebody we hate because they're not living up to the hype that we got. And it's mainly because of either A, where they were drafted, B, how much money they got, or C, their performance, or a combination of the three. Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is. So I'm not surprised by MVS's comments. I kind of laughed at it because I texted my receivers coach from college. I'm like, bro, that reminded me of somebody in our team that acted just like him. When something's going bad, he tried to, like, block out the noise because you hear it 24/7, bro. So, of course, when a reporter asks you, you don't want to respond to it again. Like, bro, I've been hearing this all day. Stop asking me a question you already know the answer to, especially if you ask me multiple times. Like, the reporter just before you said the same thing, you're going to repeat his question. We know what's going on. I'm not playing well. I need to be better. What do you want me to say? He could have repeated himself, Keegan. You're right. But he said, all right, bro, I'm not going to play this game with you. I know what I did wrong. Let's move on to the next question. Yeah. So it's always frustrating in the media when players are trash because everybody's upset. And now you got media members taking shots, players taking shots back, and now everybody's firing off at each other. I laugh at it because I think it's funny because, like, before this, we had outbursts, but the national media wasn't as locked in on us because we weren't winning. Now we're actually the best team, and now everybody expects us to win. So anything we do is news. Pat blowing up, Andy doing this, MVS talking. So it comes with the territory. That's why I don't get as mad, fellas, because I remember people didn't give a shit when we got mad. When we were losing. We were like getting two win seasons or getting knocked out in the first round of playoffs every year. Didn't nobody care what we said then. Now all of a sudden we're the best team, and MVS is not making plays in prime time. I get the frustration because they expect us to win. Yeah. So I like having expectations. That's why I laugh at it because I'm like, everybody's upset because we all want to win. That's why, like, I don't really care how anyone feels. Whether you feel he should have said that or he shouldn't have said that, we all want the same thing. So it is what it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one of the things that I thought is very interesting today, just kind of watching it the day after, it seems like all of the analysts who never played football, or didn't play at that level, are calling them babies, saying the Chiefs had nothing to complain about. What it was a clear penalty. You got this beneficiary in the Super Bowl, so, like, quit your crying. But then, Dan Orlovsky, Peyton Manning, Matt Ryan, like, all these guys that actually play the game and, like, understand that specific penalty, because every penalty is different. We can agree that the holding on James Bradbury was probably ticky-tacky and probably shouldn't have been called, but, like, that's a different kind of penalty than offensive offsides that was called. Yeah. And Dan Orlovsky showed there were 4 or 5 times earlier in the game, Kadarius lines up the exact same way. Every time he's on the line, he's over, and a ref doesn't say a word to him.
Nothing.
And then in the fourth quarter, Pat could have thrown a pick on that play, and it still would have been a BS penalty to call in that moment, because at that point the referee is taking it into his own hands. Like, they've seen it already how many times throughout the game. Now you're going to pick a minute and a half to start being like, that's what you're looking for.
Exactly.
That's where your mindset is to look to make, like, I don't know, man. That was exactly. Like, he's clearly offsides. But earlier today on Monday night before we did this, Jalen Waddle literally lined up the exact same way. It wasn't called.
Same way.
I bet you could pull up any NFL game, and at least once or twice a game, you're going to see a receiver like that. It happens time to time. And, like, again, It is a penalty. I want to make that clear. I'm not arguing that it's not a penalty, but I am repeating the sentiment of Andy and Patrick. That's like, you don't call that penalty there
Right there, you just don't.
in that moment. Again, there's 18 other reasons why the Chiefs were in a position at that point where they could have avoided it. I get all of that. But at the end of the day, like, that penalty should not have been called there. It shouldn't have. It's not the same as some of the other examples that all these opposing fan trolls want to bring up. It's different.
Like the MVS penalty that impedes his progress from catching the ball.
Yeah,
The Juju
and
one,
no one said a word about it.
Me. Yeah, like those are actually impede. Whether KT lined up this far or this far off the ball, it does nothing. It doesn't affect the play. I don't get an advantage for being this closer to the ball than you are. You grabbing me or holding me, that's impeding me from making a play. KT was still going to run down the field the same length, whether he's this far off the ball. So that's why, as a ref, I'm like, what did he really do to give himself an advantage in that moment?
Looking for it. That's where the ref's mindset is. Out of all the things you could be looking for at that part of the game, that was the thing on his checklist. That was like,
okay. All right.
I will say the one thing that now that we've all seen the film today, what looks bad for Tony is on that same one. If you break it down from the all 22 as well as the one for where we see it from this end looking towards him, you see Rashee Rice on the other side turn and point to the ref and get him lined up. So the rookie does it,
and you see that ref gave him a quick.
Yeah.
And then the several year now vet, shows his flash of excitement, but also shows why he was traded. I think that was frustrating. But I don't know if you guys went back and saw this because the attention got taken away. If you go back and watch that same exact play, and they were talking about this on First Take this morning, that same exact play, right before Kelsey turns around and throws him the ball, when Tony comes out of his break to the flat, he's pissed. He looks pissed. He's like throwing his hands mad. At first, it looked like he was pissed that he was wide open, didn't get the ball thrown to him. But then you rewind it. As he's coming out of his break, he's sandwiched between two guys. And I think he was thrown up there like, seriously, you're not gonna get the contact there. So the fact that not only does he get the offsides, doesn't get a call a few seconds later where he's smashed between two DBs, just the entire play as a whole. And I think that really sucks. And I know this is not the only time this has happened in the NFL. Just when you have a tremendous play like that's wiped out by a penalty, all of football is just sitting there like.
And then it's because you made a penalty that doesn't change the outlook of the game.
Yeah.
Like if a guy obviously, and my thing is there's different things as far as calls. A guy lining up offside to get a rush, he can get to the quarterback faster. A receiver can't get down the field faster by being 6 inches closer to the ball. Yeah. That's why those calls are barely made because they don't affect the play. That's why I don't agree with that call at all because it's the end of the game. You haven't been calling it. And they didn't tell Andy the entire game. Andy said, I was not warned he was offside. KT wasn't warned he was offside. So who on the Chiefs sideline knew he was lining up incorrectly? Nobody. So the refs decided to keep it to himself, wait until the end of the game, and then make a decision. Okay.
Yeah. Or
did you guys go back? Yeah. Did you guys go back and read the commentary of their press conference?
No, I didn't. I couldn't get myself to go read what Carl Sheffers had to say about that game.
Oh, Carl! I saw some clips of it. But
I was like, I don't need to see what that.
He wasn't wrong in what he said, but you could tell it was like, all right, no, we're clearly sticking to it's so egregious. I don't owe you an explanation, kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. And that was the other part of Pat's sentiment too. Was again, he was. It's very hard for other people to see because they're looking at it through Chiefs hater lens, which is well earned. Like you go to 3 Super Bowls, you went 2 of them.
Yeah, you become the villain.
I did the same thing with the Patriots. Like that's just how it works. But Pat wasn't even necessarily pissed. I mean, that it was specifically on the Chiefs. He was just pissed that this was another week, another big NFL game. That at the end we're sitting there talking about the officiating. This is how many weeks in a row for the Chiefs? How many weeks do we watch another primetime game where we have questions about it? It's another week to where the inconsistencies at the end just makes it very difficult for those guys to play. And so, again, he was obviously happened to him. So there was that extra emotion of his team not winning, but it went beyond that. It went it was just, it's every week. It's been how many games in a row, starting with the Bengals game in the AFC Championship. I know we were the beneficiary of those 2 games in a row, but I'm sure he wasn't super excited to end those games being asked. His team just won 2 huge games, and the first question out of everyone's mouth is the penalties. How many big games in a row has this been for Pat to where whether good or bad, he's been asked about a penalty first? That just got to wear on you.
It's I differentiate penalties. Holding penalties and DPOIs or OPIs, I see those frequently, so I understand when they call them. I may not agree with them, but I understand them. How often do you see an offensive
first time in Andy's career?
It's
First
literally
time in
happened this year for receivers. Guess how many times they've been called this year
4.
for receivers only? How many snaps are in a football game? 80. There's like what 8 games a weekend. So you told me 4 the entire season. We're in week 14 now. You've seen 4 the entire year, and that's when you decide to call it. That's how I know the call was BS. There's been 11 the entire year. 4 of them have been on receivers.
Yeah, but
Since
it's 'cause of
2010,
the
there's only
tush
been
push.
5.
It's the tush push. That's why
Yeah.
there's been more.
Exactly. Like that's why the frustration is valid. You don't see that call ever, and you decide to call it now at the end of the game when it changes nothing. If you say, "Hey, run the play again," it still would have worked because it didn't do nothing. He literally was this off the ball. So
Yeah.
that's just like it's comedy at this point. Like it's just we're finding ways to lose, and sometimes we jab
That's the
ourselves,
real
sometimes
thing
the
is
refs
we're
jab us.
finding new unique ways to lose games versus
funny. It's
finding
so
ways
funny.
to win games, and that
I'm
I would
like,
never
yeah.
imagine would be the case with this offense. You
And that's so funny
you would
'cause
say
that's
that
an
about the
amazing play.
defense several years ago, but now you're like, all right, the defense still did everything possible. Even the Bills tried to shoot themselves in the foot multiple times. Sean McDermott, bad clock management again at the end of the first half.
3
leads
Oh,
to
straight
two
yards.
terrible.
Yep.
Atrocious.
Josh Allen throws another pick. Classic Josh Allen. Gets sacked multiple times. The Chiefs defense did everything possible
3
as
straight
they
3 and
have
outs,
all
bro. 3 in a row.
season. And we cannot capitalize. I haven't done the statistic yet, but how many times have the Chiefs scored off of a
Turnover.
forced 3 and out or a turnover this year?
Probably
I'm
worse in
sure
the
it's
league
got
at
to
this
be
low.
incredibly low.
Probably low.
And that to me, that's I don't know. I know you mentioned too the Eric Bieniemy being gone, that there's not that accountability factor, which is a lot of the talk. To me, I mean, like regardless of the way the ref called that play, like the problem is you can point to 4 or 5 snaps that game where the receivers did something negative to impact the game, and we just
Like
can't
fumble
go
the
a game
ball
where they're
again.
clean.
Yeah, Rice fumbled the ball. I know
Fumble the ball. Like
he gets
you
a
can't
lot of
do that.
leeway as a rookie and the only wide receiver that can make a play, but he makes at least 1 or 2 mistakes
One every
game
game.
too.
Every game.
Yeah.
So
And Kadarius
gotta
Toney
deal with
again, he had that I don't remember what down it was, but he had that wide open
drop,
out route where he catches it. It's the first time. And I think outside of that, Kadarius Toney played well. I was
That's
really
what
glad to
sucks.
see the
Great
increased
game.
snap
Great
count
game.
because when he's on the field, good things
He's
happen.
electric. Yep.
But you have 2 good plays and you have 2 bad plays, so you're net neutral.
I hope that like because the Lions game and now this game is going to have a lot of people. I think most of Cheese Kingdom being like, just get Kadarius as far away from snaps as possible. I hope that's not what happens. I hope that's not what happens on the actual field. Like obviously he's going to have his mistakes. I mean that's just who he is. He's a flawed athlete. He's a flawed football player. But again, so is Rashee Rice as a rookie right now. He has a drop or a fumble or something. You know, there was at least twice I saw where he was lining up in the wrong spot. Like Pat had to stop before he gets sent the ball and be like, no, get on the line, and like had to get some like there's still things like that are going on that like it's not as evident because he is making more plays and getting more snaps than Tony, but like there aren't guys that can create separation on this team. Tony's one of them that can. He's got to still play. It sucks, but that's where we're at as a receiving core is that dude has to continue to get snaps.
Facts. This is the time of the year his snaps were going to increase, so we knew this was coming. So, especially even though more so Pacheco was out, you got to figure out a way to get the ball in his hands. He's too athletic. So,
yeah,
we talked. You guys talked about this. Maybe 4 or 5 games ago now. But who are the 3 receivers now that should be getting? I know we're seeing a lot more 2 receiver set versus the 3. But who are the 3 receivers that should be getting the most snaps?
Rashee, Justin, KT.
Yeah.
And that's who got him most last night. Rashee Rice, 85% of the snaps. Justin Watson, I think, had like 60 something of them, and then Tony was third. So MVS still on the field, still dropped a ball. It's gonna happen. Still ran the wrong route.
Caught one
it's
too.
gonna happen.
2 for 20.
He caught one. He did have 2. He had
2 for
2
22
catches.
or so whatever.
Yeah. He hit his
over was 18.5. Yeah, I saw that.
Sky Moore, I think I'm pretty sure he dropped a pass.
I don't remember.
Either that or it was a bad throw to him.
Directed to him.
Yeah, I think it's those 3. And then go back to 2 receivers sets, and I don't know. I'd like to see more of
just run 12 personnel because your best players. I don't even know if best is the right. The players that Patrick trusts the most is out of 12 personnel. Because that way you can put Rice and Watson, Kelsey and Noah Gray, and then Pacheco or Jet. Like
run it. Like Noah should be getting at least like 50 to 60.
Noah is just Mr. Reliable. Like again, I know he doesn't create the separation because he's a tight end And with all the attention Kelsey gets, he's still probably going to get some sort of level of DB or someone on him. But like, he's not going to create the separation, but he knows where to be. He catches the ball. Like, that's where this team is at. Do you know what route you're going to run? Can you catch the ball? Okay, great. Get out there. Like, those are the requirements, and Noah Gray is at the top of the list as far as that goes.
It just makes your offense so much of from a play calling standpoint. I think it makes it easier because I've said this for weeks now, and everybody that I was at the game yesterday. They were like looking at me like, "Why did you say that?" I'm like, because it just makes everything. Play action from the gun is the most pointless play in football.
Oh,
it does nothing.
Bro, you can.
This does nothing.
You've read the guard already. Like
you're not fooling anybody. Oh, they're not running it. It's just a fake. It really does nothing. So, and when we did get under center, we ran 12 personnel. We were in the red zone. Play action. Noah ran a drag. Trav ran a deep over. He was wide open. Can we play action off of it? The safety came down. They were in single high. You can manipulate the safety. He didn't know which way to go. He chose Noah. Trav was wide open. Playing under center just makes your job so much easier. You get cleaner looks. Your O-line can be more physical in the run game. Your running backs feel more downhill. It gives you more of an actual fake. And the safeties have to bite on what you're doing rather than a shotgun fake. So I just wish we would get in our Alex Smith playbook and get under center. I just think it makes everyone's job easier.
Well, and the defenses know with the struggle Juwan Taylor's had. Now you have a rookie left tackle who played I think he played pretty
very well.
Loved that. I think that's his job the rest of the year now. I don't see him giving it back. But the defense knows you're going to be chipping one side or the other, and they know whether it's Pacheco or McKinnon, even in the play action, that's probably a block first, maybe release later play. Exactly. So they're not going to give the attention. So you might as well just do more pre-snap movement to see if you get the defense to move than just, waste half a second of Mahomes' hand doing a fake handoff where it's not going anywhere. Now, maybe Andy's consistently doing that so that he can get some of these other short yardage plays back later for some reason. But yeah, the play calling, that I know we've talked about it before. It just always intrigues me how coaches just get away from what works well and goes back to what they want to do versus, all right, what can we do here? Like, we don't have the personnel to do what we want to do. There's just no, like I was thinking last night,
we just can't.
Running jet chip wasp last night. If that was the thing, who would run that play? You don't have a receiver that could run that route that you would trust to do it. You just don't have those weapons this year. But
that's why I think we just can't be in shotgun that much. I'm not saying we can't use it at all, but if you look at the disparity of our snaps, we're in shotgun way more than we are in the center. And I think that's a disservice. And I put that on Andy. Like, this offense is not good enough to be explosive in those sets. So don't put your team in there to put them in a situation where they can't succeed, and then mistakes happen. So just put yourself under center. It's like the most basic offense that gives you a great chance to win. We can run the football. We ran a touchdown from the 7-yard line yesterday. I know it's not crazy, but for us, that's an accomplishment. We don't do those things. Usually if it's from the 7 and third down, what are we doing, fellas? We know we're throwing the ball every time. Everybody in the world knows we're going to throw it. And we ran it with Jet, and we scored a touchdown, which is ironic because it was from the gun, which is funny. But when we run the football, this team is dominant. And I believe if we keep doing that, play action off of that brings guys wide open. So I know it may not be sexy. And it's ironic because we always said that about the Bills with Josh Allen, right? You're in shotgun way too much. You need to get under center. What did Joe Brady do yesterday? He was under center like half the game. I rarely ever saw Josh Allen in shotgun them like that. Unless they were scrambling around on third down, he was under center a lot. I wish we would get back to that. I know Pat may not like it, and he's probably telling Andy, let's keep it in gun. I like it that way. I get what he's saying. But, Pat, this offense, the best chance we have to win is playing under center. I think anyone would agree with that.
Yeah. And we know what CJ's mantra is going to be this week. So get back under center. One little thing that I haven't seen anyone else talk about, so maybe I'm absolutely crazy for even worrying about it. But, Harrison Butker hasn't missed this year, correct? That's still a thing.
Knock on wood.
He's hit, what was it, a 61 yard or 63? What was he hit a super deep one earlier?
60. I think it was 63.
Why is that? So we know that the struggles offensively are well documented. That it's not. Why are we punting on the 39-yard line back-to-back weeks? That's a 56-yarder. I'm not saying there's a reason I guess Harrison hasn't missed yet because Andy's not going to trust his big kicker. He's going to miss some 50-yarders the more you let him. That's just how kicking goes. But why are we continually in the first half not trying to steal 3 points with the weapon we have on the sideline? I
remember you tweeting about that. I'm trying to remember what part of the game that was.
It was they punted at the 39-yard line, either late first or early second. That's a 56-yard field goal. They did the same in the Packers game the week before.
He had a couple good punts where he pinned them in, but I wouldn't mind him kicking it for sure.
I understand that, but
you got to kick it, yeah.
Like, why not
And I
give
was
him a
watching,
shot?
they were like debating, like Harry would run out and he'd come back. I'm like, are we going to kick it or punt it? And they decided to punt it. So trying to pin him in the end zone. So,
So, like, I don't
or the
know.
red zone, sorry.
That's a very minor thing. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but I just
Yeah, I would venture to guess it has more to do with like just the positioning of the field, because I think one of those, it was like 4th and 12 at the one that I'm thinking of is 4th and 12 at the Buffalo 39 in the first half. Your
Right.
defense had been doing well, so you thought, all right, if we miss the points, they have an easier time to go down. Maybe it had something to do with time. I don't know, but I guess I didn't really pay attention that much to that.
I saw it a couple of times. Yeah. We could have kicked it, but Tommy made some great punts too. So.
I get it, but like it just shows again to where Andy's not really adjusting. It goes to the play call thing, like Keegan just said. We can't run what we want to run, so run what we can run. Like, okay, our defense is a strength and our offense is not scoring. Guess what else is a strength? Your kicker this year.
Yeah.
So, like, again, he's going to miss a couple of them if you put them out. That's just the nature of kicking
We need
50+
points.
yarders. But you need points, and your defense. We should be talking so much about L'Jarius Sneed today again if the Chiefs win.
Up Sneed.
Locked up Diggs all game. Locked up all the receivers. They had like 52 yards combined to all receivers in that game.
Clamp
it was
City,
crazy.
stop playing.
So like,
yeah, and half of that was one play at the end of the game.
Right.
Literally
So if
one
like
big
that's
shot.
your strength is your defense, and your second strength is your kicker. Well, I know you have Patrick Mahomes. I know you have Travis Kelce. I know Andy. You're a great offensive mind. Adapt to the team you currently have and kick the damn ball and try to steal 3 points. I don't know. That's again, no one else is talking about that because there's 18 other things more important in that game. But it's kind of a trend I've seen. He hasn't kicked a 50+ yarder since October. He's kicked 140 yarder in that time frame too. So like, I don't know. I don't have all the stats.
Do you think some of that has to do with them pressing, like needing to get the offense going? And so, well, I guess no, it doesn't matter because they're not going for it on 4th down.
I haven't dove into the data and seen how many times they could have, like 58 or less. I haven't looked at that. I do know the last 2 weeks, though, they have punted twice at the 39-yard line, which is a 56.
39 is kind of nasty. Yeah, like that's kinda, if you're inside your own 50, let them kick it, man.
Yeah,
especially at home.
In the business.
Especially
it wasn't crazy when he kicked the ball.
Yeah. So I don't know. We can move on, but like that was just, when you lose by 3, I thought it was kind of interesting. So,
yeah.
But
yeah, because I don't remember which game it was now off the top of my head, but we were talking about it. Actually, it might have been a KU game we were talking about. But you had the chance to kick a field goal, and then at the end of the game, you lose by 3. And instead of kicking the field goal, you go for it, you miss it.
Game. Yeah,
that was right before halftime. I remember that game. Yeah, that was crazy.
But yeah,
they were on the goal line.
This team needs points desperately. I was talking about it with a friend this morning. We were going through their schedule. I think this team has 4 of their 5 losses. They have scored 17 or less points. So yeah, you're literally talking. And those are all, other than that Broncos game, these are all 1-score games where a field goal makes a world of difference. Any type of points makes a world of difference. So it's frustrating. Obviously the Chiefs win when they score more, but the defense is still right there. I think that's what kills me the most is we have enough of these losses where the defense was still one of the best defenses in football. I mean, Diggs had 11 targets, 4 catches, 11 targets, 4 catches, 24 yards. Snead had the 1 penalty, which we know is going to happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was all over. McDuffie was great. Watson, other than that one wishy-washy penalty that we can throw out there too, as another referee trying to get involved in the game.
No, that was
he was a little more hands-on.
That was a hold.
But I even think he said he said he referenced to they were doing that throughout the first quarter, and the refs didn't say anything. But I like that we're playing more physical in defense because it's clearly paid off this year and compared to years past where instead of playing physical, there's 8 yards of separation.
And we got great pressure. We got 3 sacks yesterday?
Yeah.
So
Karlaftis, man, he's almost there for double-digit sacks.
Chris, everybody was getting there. So D-line played way better than they did versus Green Bay. I think they took it personal after that non-existent pressure we saw in Wisconsin. For them to bounce back that week against one of the hardest guys to sack in the league, I liked what the D-line did. And it was funny that Joe Cole and Chris were over there arguing. And George's over there laughing like
they catch him on TV once a year, but it happens like 6 times a year.
They're just like yelling at each other like, no, I was right. No, you were right. No, I was
right.
No,
like
right.
These guys that was the other thing too. I know no one really cares what the fans say, but like people freaking out about Why are you yelling at your coach? Because this isn't high school. Like, it's not a kid and an
I'm a
adult.
grown man.
It's a 2-time Super Bowl champ, defensive of the year finalist who understands the game just as well, if not better, than Joe Cullen. Like,
He has
they're gonna
kids
have
just
their
like you do.
yeah, they're gonna have their differences and argue about stuff. Like, that's
And
just
it
There's nothing
wasn't more
wrong.
than a play or two later. They went back to the sideline camera angle, and they're sitting there like chuckling.
yeah, because
You saw that?
been working together how long? Like, it happens once every other week. The camera just only catches it once a year, I swear. Like,
Anybody who's played football knows the D-line coach is the one that argues with his players the most. Out of all the position coaches,
dude, it doesn't
the
matter what
D-line coach
level. Dude, you could
argues
be
the
at middle
most.
school though. The
Facts.
D-line coach
Always
is
the
like,
most
always getting
arguing.
on to their guys.
Not
in
even
the
Yeah,
huddle.
close.
you
You
could
could do
could
something
have
right.
the perfect execution and sack the
Still gonna yell
quarterback,
at
and
you.
they're still be like, "How come you did that move instead
Why
of this
didn't you
move?"
do this? I'm like, what are you talking about? I got to him. I'm like, it's still
Yeah.
mad. That's just how D-line
You're
coaches
supposed to
are.
do this stunt. Why'd you twist? And not?
Because I got there. Well, that didn't work. Well, you didn't do it. I know. Because you didn't do it. And it's always something, bro. I laugh at it. And George knows, like, this is funny.
Yeah, exactly. George has probably sees how many of those a week in the D-line room.
Like, I do this
behind
every day
closed
in
doors.
meetings.
Like,
That's funny.
you're like, okay, yeah. So, like, I think we've hit all the little things that people were complaining about. Like,
Yeah.
I guess the last thing maybe before we get out of here is, Keegan, I know you wanted to talk about, so maybe lead us off. What's your comfort level with this team? Like, if the playoffs started tomorrow and the Chiefs had to go on a run, where's your comfort level at?
It's definitely dropped significantly. I think to me, it keeps coming back to: is this team capable of beating teams with this defense? Absolutely. I think because of the level of competition and the way some of these top teams in the playoffs will be, if the Chiefs can't get to 20 points, I'm feeling a little worried. I think we could beat even a Baltimore, a 17-14. I think we could beat Jacksonville again because we've already done it. Miami, that offense is explosive. I know we played them well, but that's overseas game, different atmosphere. I think their offense is still explosive enough so that it'd be tough to duplicate that. But to me, it's all about if this Chiefs team is going to go anywhere in the playoffs, no matter how good the defense is, they got to be able to score 20 points. And we just haven't consistently seen that enough this year to feel confident they're going to go do it. So unless the defense is going to put up points each week for us, which is not something you can just necessarily expect unless you're the Dallas Cowboys this year. It's just the offense has to go out and do something to win games. It can't just be, I know the old saying is defense wins championships. Well, this is a new age of the NFL. Even with offenses being down across the league a little bit, the offense has to go out and figure out how to put up points on the board, or this team's not going to make it very far. So my confidence level is probably about a 6 right now. Now, there's 4 games left against terrible teams, and depending on how those 4 games go, I'm sure our confidence will change like it does from day to day, week to week. But I still don't see enough with this offense that gives you enough hope for what they're going to do, because every step they take forward, they take another step back.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of that sentiment. Like, I think other years it would be lower because, when Josh was having his borderline MVP season and they're still fighting for their playoff lines and life. And we know Joe Burrow's not going to be here this year. And it's like Trevor Lawrence is a little banged up. Tua is one play away. They're getting banged up right now on Monday night. We don't know the severity of Tyreek Hill's injury. And I think Xavier Howard came back in, but he went down for a second. Javon Holland's battling injuries. Like, they got their own thing they're going down.
Left tackle's out again.
Yeah, Armstead and Hunt, they're right guard.
Lamar's one tackle away.
Lamar's always one tackle.
They already lost Mark Andrews for the year. So
exactly, Mark Andrews. Maybe back for the playoffs. That's still up in the air for Mark. So, like, and even with all those guys, it wasn't like anyone looked super, super impressive. I think Baltimore's starting to separate themselves a little bit, but like even then they kind of collapsed.
Heck, even Cleveland right now with Joe Flacco looks like they can
with
do
that
enough
defense.
to keep
But
it
that's the thing is Cleveland. You know what's crazy is like Cleveland has to win the same way Kansas City has to win, behind their defense with enough plays made from their quarterback.
I think you're right there. The AFC, there's less separation between that 1 through 6 this year than probably any year, and it's crazy because the start of the year, I don't think anybody thought that it was Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, Ravens on the outside looking in. But right now, I mean, even if you take the Ravens out of it, the Chiefs are now one game above the freaking Denver Broncos in the AFC West, who are now coming out of nowhere. Russell Wilson, comeback player of the year, plus 2,000. Sean Payton, Coach of the Year, plus 1,500 if you're looking for a long shot there. If they win
Not
out,
bad value.
if
Not
they
bad value.
somehow
Great
overtake the
value.
Chiefs and win the AFC
make
West,
the playoffs, that'd be
yeah,
good value.
I know. Oh shoot, D'Amico Ryans is getting a lot of attention, and so is Mike McDaniel. But come on, if he can turn around the Broncos disaster that they have and turn Russell Wilson something. All right, side tangent there. The Indianapolis Colts, even without Anthony Richardson, they look really solid. Their offense is Michael Pittman's putting up huge numbers. Their defense has been okay. Jacksonville, there's just a lot of these. I wouldn't even say mediocre teams. There's a lot of pretty solid teams in the AFC that are all just 1 or 2 plays away from. Like, I mean, again, the Chiefs are 4 plays away from being from having 2 losses, maybe 1 loss on the season. I think that just shows me the level of play is picked up for sure. But the margin of error is so small.
Yeah.
So small.
Yeah. So like I still think that like if it didn't matter what seed the Chiefs got, like even if they stumble a little bit still, and let's say they snuck in as like the 6th or 7th seed, something crazy like that, I still think my confidence would be higher than anything ever than the Alex Smith era, because we've seen confidence or experience matters in the playoffs, and you're looking around. If Josh Allen doesn't get in, what's the experience? Trevor Lawrence played 2 games. Lamar Jackson's played 2 games. Like, and then everyone else is not really played. Your Kenny Pickett,
Joe Flacco.
Well, okay, I guess Joe Flacco, old man Flacco. Yeah, your Kenny Pickett, your Gardner Minshew's. I guess Russ. There's some experience there, but we're talking about 2014, 2013 experience. Yeah. We're not talking about.
It's been a minute, man.
Won the Super Bowl last year, has been the 3. So like, I think that factor alone would put me at a part to where like I think the Chiefs could get to an AFC Championship game. It's pretty clear that they're probably not going to be hosting it this year, but like outside of having to play Baltimore in the divisional round, I feel pretty good about the Chiefs getting at least back there now. Whether they win that game or not is a completely different story, but that seems realistic with this team and with the way the AFC at West.
Yeah, I think franchise as a whole, you still trust the Chiefs probably more than any team except for maybe Baltimore. But I think on paper, to me, is where the eye test and the paper test says the Chiefs just don't have it this year. Not to what we're used to. Now, what they have going for them is, like what you said, the rest of the AFC is really blended. So maybe coming out of the AFC, still feel pretty good with that. Don't really like how they stack up against some of the top NFC teams right now. But that's a conversation for another day.
So you're saying we get to the Super Bowl?
I still have that as my. I mean, my expectation is my prediction at the beginning of year 2.
Yeah.
We just need one receiver to have a clean game. That's it.
I think we just have to do simple things we've had games this year where we have 0 turnovers. That has happened. We've had games where we've run the ball efficiently for 5 yards of carry. We've done that multiple times this year. Pacheco's top 5 in rushing right now. We've had games where our defense has gotten a turnover or multiple turnovers. We've had games where Pat has played a clean game. We've had games where we've put it together. Our thing is, like to Keegan's point, we haven't done it consistently for multiple games. All it takes is 2 games to get hot and get rolling down the stretch. And if those 2 games for us is a Chargers team with no Justin Herbert, a Patriots team with Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones, whoever's playing quarterback, and a Raiders team with Aiden O'Connell playing, if that's what it takes for us to get our momentum going into the playoffs, then whatever you got to do to get the job done. Because like Chris said, when you get into January with this, the reason I wasn't the most confident about this team because I know we can get stops this year. Years past, I wasn't as confident because I'm like, any given moment, if we give the ball back to somebody, I don't know if we're going to get them off the field because I know our defense was good enough to get us there, but we need to get one more stop. We're probably not going to get it. If we can beat teams 20-17, 21-20, that's usually a good recipe for success with this team because most teams don't score 21, 23 on this defense. They just don't. Yeah. And if you give Spags a week off or even like 2 weeks to prepare for a team, because usually you look ahead once you figure out what your playoff scenario is, outside of Lamar, and really even if Lamar did come here, we had went to Baltimore, I'm not really worried. Like their offense is good, but no offense really puts fear in my heart, honestly, outside of San Fran. And that's like a Super Bowl conversation. Which would
the Ravens are only scoring because somehow Odell's finding space on the field.
Exactly. And I'm not discrediting Baltimore. They're finding ways to win games. They're running the football well. Lamar's having a connection with Zay Flowers, Odell, Rashad Bateman, obviously, and Isaiah Likely, who stepped in for Andrews. So they're finding ways to win games. When you look at the offense on a week-to-week basis, this defense has seen everyone. We've seen Tyreek Hill with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase's. That's why no offense really puts fear in my heart because this defense has seen everyone you could think of. And they've held their own and then some. Snead is winning against every receiver in this league and held his own beyond that. In my opinion, Trent McDuffie's an all-pro. I think Snead should be in that conversation as well. He's been that good to me this year. Will he get it? It's subjective because there's so many good corners in the AFC, but I think he is going to be in the conversation for being one of the top 5 corners this year because I think he's been that good. Now, but outside of that, offensively, we just have to do 2 things. Just don't turn the ball over. If we play clean games, don't turn the ball over. And if we get 20 points, I think we can beat anybody. Don't turn the ball over, score 20. Whether it be 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, you win the game.
Yep.
I don't think that's a lot to ask, honestly.
No.
We did it last night. We did it yesterday. We just one call. That's all it was.
One last note on the state.
Yeah, and then I got another question for you guys after that.
Okay, on the state of quarterbacks in the AFC, outside of Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence, who obviously made the playoffs last year, Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson are the most recent to make a playoff start, which was 2020. Because Tua didn't play last year. Stroud's obviously never played in one. Pickett's never played in one. Flacco's last was 2014. That was his last playoff start. 2014. Gardner Minshew's never start. Like, you start looking at it and you're like, even the guys like Russ and Lamar haven't made a playoff start because of injuries or whatever since 2020. Like, that should just make you feel good alone on the AFC. So
it's very ugly this year. Very ugly this year.
But let me ask you guys this. I was thinking about this today too. One side of me hopes last night is a wake-up call and that this gets this team fired up and that the rest of the NFL should be on lookout because a pissed off Andy Reid and pissed off Patrick Mahomes are about to tear it up. However, I have one concern. The quarterback play down the stretch again, we're not facing anybody. But doesn't this Patriots game this weekend, and maybe we talked about this later in the week too, just worry you a little bit that all these offensive frustrations we're having, now we have to go up against a defense that has held teams to like less than 10 points for 4 or 5 weeks in a row and has made every quarterback they played look awful. And again, I know Patrick Mahomes is fantastic, but you don't think Bill Belichick's going to find ways to basically shut down Kelsey and force Mahomes to win this game with Sky Moore? That has me a little concerned. I'm not going to lie. I don't think we lose the game because the Patriots offense isn't going to do anything against this defense. I know we said that about the Broncos few weeks back and look how that turned out. But Bill Belichick takes pride in doing what he does. And again, they're playing for a high draft pick and their season's been over for weeks now. But you don't think he still wants to come out and shut Mahomes down and take Kelsey off the field completely? Like that has me a little concerned going into this weekend. I know we can get into game talk maybe later in the week, but I feel like the Patriots are catching us at the right time.
Yeah, I don't know. Trubisky got 18 last week. Obviously, the Herbert against the Chargers.
Yeah, that was a weird game too.
That was a rain game. Yeah, bad weather.
Was weird. Yeah. And then you have the Giants. Then you have Gardner Minshew and the Colts only got 10. Howell got 20. So like you start to look at the quarterback play and you're really like, okay, they held
numbers are kind of
they held Justin Herbert to 6 points
in a rain game. So
in a rain game where there was another Quentin Johnson drop that could have
Trubisky. I can't really give you credit for Trubisky. I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't give you credit for that.
So while the defense is still very good, like I'm not trying to diminish Bill Belichick and the defense.
You know,
they are clearly a quality team. I'm just saying that I did tweet out that I was like, this barn burner to 10 points is going to be an exciting week because that's what it may feel like. But like,
so I already today, just for the heck of it, I did a look ahead bet and the over-unders 37, the Patriots over-unders 13.5, and the Chiefs over-under was 17, I believe. So, or no, I'm sorry, 23.5. So I already did I did the under on all three to parlay it together with
our team total was 23.
23.5 was the Chiefs total. I'm like, the Chiefs have hit that, I think, 3 times this year.
That's what I'm saying. Why did they
smells like a 17? Smells like a 17 to 10 game.
Oh yeah,
17, 14,
Patriots under 13.5. They're not scoring on this. I mean, if the Bills could barely get to 17, what are the Patriots going to do?
They're not getting. They'd be lucky to see 10. That's what I'm saying.
So that puts you well under the 30. That puts you well under the 37.
What receiver?
So I went ahead and put that
scares
out.
you. Like we're talking about receivers. Like
Juju,
you don't think Snead's gonna lock up Juju after what he's done to Diggs, after what he did to Adams for a half, what he did to Justin Jefferson. Like
Juju almost broke his knee trying to beat Pittsburgh. I don't think he got enough juice left.
Hunter Henry, if you're gonna take any odds, like Hunter Henry is where you put all of your over.
Yeah, I'd still take the tight ends are still the one spot, especially if Drew Tranquil's not playing. Tight ends and running back receiving threats are still the only two that really are getting anything from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah. So we
Absolutely.
can get out more into that later in the week, maybe. But
Bailey Zappi,
any other
anytime.
thoughts you guys got before we get out of here?
Oh,
I think we
Oh,
exhausted.
I did want to ask you guys this too, real quick. Zach Ertz, what do you make a
I would love
difference?
that. I would love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, he
He's
would.
a pass catcher.
I don't know if he'd be any better than Noah right now.
No, but 13
Well, you
personnel.
could
We
go to
haven't ran it
13
all year.
yeah.
Yeah, we haven't ran it all year. We
Then
haven't
Kelsey
been able to.
becomes your
Blake Bell was
receiver.
slow.
Yeah.
That was our best personnel last year. We had the most 20-yard plus plays out of that personnel grouping. I would
Yeah,
love
Blake,
Zach here.
because Blake Bell
Absolutely.
clearly does not have it anymore, man. He never
He's
really
good.
had much.
He's
but
only here 'cause
whatever he
Sports-
had,
Sports and got
whatever
hurt
he
again.
had left is completely gone.
He's a great blocker. That's about it, fellas. I would love Zach to be here, but I was concerned he was going to go back to Philly because I thought that Dallas Goedert was going to be out longer than he was, but Dallas Goedert's back now. Isaiah Likely's kind of established himself as a starter. So any of these three teams, you're going to be the backup. Why not come be the backup with Travis Kelce?
He's gonna be tight end 3 here. He's gonna be
What's wrong
tight
with
end
that?
2 very well. What?
But he could
What's
win
wrong
a
with
Super
that?
Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think he goes to
I don't know.
Dallas.
I'm not gonna sit here and be like I don't
they got
want
Jake
him.
Ferguson.
Like I'm not gonna say I don't want Zach Ertz, but it's not gonna
It
move
doesn't.
the
It doesn't move
needle
the needle for you. Yeah.
as much as it does for other people because I just think Noah Gray is so established that you're literally bringing Zach Ertz in for just 13 personnel.
I'm with
Like I don't know.
I'm with it.
I mean,
if he
so
wants
like
to
that
make the
doesn't
role,
move the
I get
needle.
what you're saying.
Move
Heck,
the needle for
I'm
me
at
a
the
ton.
point now where I think calling Marcus Kemp and bringing him back onto this active
That
roster
would be the
make
same
a
level of
difference.
excitement.
We should have kept Byron Pringle.
I've been a tight end, so I'm
That's where
more
this
sensitive towards the position.
This receiver room has us talking about Kemp and Byron Pringle and people mad about
Derek
D-Rob
Dieter.
plays on the Rams. Like, yeah, call
Greg
Derek.
Dieter, he hates us now. Remember?
They all bums too, man. They all.
Man, bring in Zach. Let us go 13 personnel. And 13 personnel really isn't traditionally because we can split Travis outside. So it's really like a low-key, like 12 package for us because we can put Zach and Noah on the line and then put Trav outside and let him run his route. So that's the flexibility
Mahomes
you
under
have.
center.
Like just put him under center, put guys in motion across the field, stay under the center so you can hand the ball off, do some jet sweeps, some fly motions. Bring Zach in here, put him on the ball, put Noah on the side, Trav, you're outside. Let's roll, man. It makes too much sense from a football standpoint to me. I want Zach here. I was saying as soon as he got past the waivers, he was a free agent. But
it is kind of odd he's sat around this long and hasn't.
Wait, so you just want to start running personnel with all the white dudes? Is that what you're saying, CJ?
Hell yeah, because they catch the ball. Guys,
put Justin Watson out, right? Put your 3 tight ends in.
And put Rasheed out there too. Let's go.
Put Rasheed out there, yeah. Make sure Rasheed got a spot. Let's roll.
Let's roll. No, I mean it's just when you have that much flexibility as an offense, it brings so much pressure to a defense. When you have personnel groupings like that, you don't know what to do. Should we put 3 linebackers out there or should we put 3 DBs? Because we can play off of you. If you put more DBs, all right, let's run the ball. They have more linebackers, let's throw it. So and
we definitely don't see enough of the 12 personnel.
Exactly. And we know all 3 of those guys are secure hands. Noah, Trav, and Zach. All of them. So if you put them all 3 of them on the field, if you throw the ball in any of them, you know they're going to come down with it. And then you could sprinkle a little Rasheed or whoever the case may be in that situation. I just love it from a flex. And it takes the pressure off of like, hey, the receiver room is not good enough, fellas. We know that. Let this tight end group lead you. And I'll say this from the beginning of the season. The tight end group or the running back group is going to be the best group of this offense. And they're showing that now. So let them be who they are. Give your best players the football, 10, 4, 87, sprinkle in 83. And when Zach wants to come in here, let him wear what number's available? We got 86. Let him wear 86. I don't care.
Yeah, I think he can wear 86.
86, 85.
I don't think anybody's wearing. Yeah, let him come in here and get his number. Let's go, man. Like Zach, you know Andy's playbook. You played it underneath when you were in Philly. Just come in here and roll, man. Come on.
He doesn't. He never played under Andy, right? Because he was
no, but he played with Doug Peterson.
Didn't he play with
you should know the same lingo.
Yeah. You're right. You're right there.
Or hey, how about Deshaun Jackson? Deshaun Jackson, you guys said earlier. He said today.
Deshaun coming to be the receivers coach.
If we're bringing in a receiver, the only one I'm interested in is Jarvis, just because I think he can run curls and catch the ball.
He can run flat routes and break a tackle. He breaks tackles. That's one of the
Yeah. So he's not creating separation himself either, which is something they do need. But he will catch the ball. And he will know where to be when
you run the short stuff.
He's out there on the plays that he's out there. So
I actually wouldn't mind that because if he can run the slot, you can allow Rasheed to play outside more, which we saw he can do.
We've been talking about that all year.
He doesn't know the time is what's the issue there is because I really do think there's truth to the complexity of Andy's offense, and he's never played for anyone really that was under Andy whether it was in Miami or in Cleveland. So like,
It's a lot to learn.
it's a lot to learn, even for a smart, established veteran like Jarvis Landry. Like, I still think you'd only have one package,
Minimal packages.
that he'd be out there for.
Yeah,
So
it's a 4-minute offense and the 2-minute offense that you're like, if you can't be on the field for that in Andy's
You got to
complex
run
system,
4,
he's not going
5,
to play
6
you.
plays in a row.
And-
it's
yeah.
like, do you know
and
what to
he's
do?
the second best option out behind Zach Ertz, who's the best. And like I said already, Zach Ertz is clearly the best option of any of the free agent, and that doesn't even move the needle much for me. So I don't know.
It's a slight move.
You've got who you got. You got to make it work. Stop turning the ball over. Stop committing penalties. You can still continue to drop the ball. Just stop doing 2 of the 3 things.
Just
Either
turn the
catch
ball
all
over. That's the one.
That's the biggest one, yeah. But like,
give him the ball
they
away.
can't catch. They make penalties and they turn the ball over. Pick 2 of those to just like, you're not going to eliminate, but just like to
just two,
and they'll be golden. They'll be
I
golden.
don't even care about the jobs, penalties and turnovers. Just stop doing those. Like,
Yeah, those
drop,
would be my
cool.
2 choices too. Those would be my 2 choices.
Yeah, moving the ball back and turning the ball. Stop it. That receipt fumble, had so much momentum. Did you guys notice how many times they had stoppages yesterday? Like how many TV timeouts?
Everything.
The game was so slow. And I noticed our offense, we do better when we're up tempo and we're moving fast. Trav had that crazy play when we're about to go down 14. He catches the ball on the 3rd down and we go down the field and score. When we get in a rhythm and we start going tempo, his offense is much better. But when you stop us and slow us down and huddle up, I don't like that. I want us to keep the pressure on the defense.
And this doesn't necessarily go with the offense part of it, but like that was the other thing too, is Andy just doesn't read the room very well. Like when he challenged the that crazy play by Josh Allen to Murray, that
he went
challenged
1,
if it
2,
was a
drop.
catch.
Yeah.
I was like, that is a great challenge. If 5 minutes ago the refs hadn't ruled Travis Kelce's play a catch, the refs had already established what they were looking at on a catch and established that Travis Kelce's bobble and whatever as he was going down, which I argue he actually had even for less time than Latavius Murray did down the sideline.
Latavius went.
Yeah, like Latavius had it longer, I think, than Travis ever did. And so like that play already existed. That play already ruled in your favor. Why are you challenging the opposite result for this same exact play? That was a waste of a timeout. I know it ended up not mattering, but like those are little things that Andy's just gotta be better at, man. Like just you gotta be able to evaluate in real time. I know you spend all week prepping, and I know challenges doesn't necessarily follow in that one, but like you have to be able to evaluate real time, and previous challenges from that said game do go into that. Like you just got to be able to go with the flow, and I think Andy has struggled with that because he can't do what he wants to do. He's got so many other things he's worried about.
Who's the eyes guy? Who's the guy?
I worry about all the minimal things. Everyone else is talking about the receivers. I'm sitting here talking about field goals and challenges, but it is what it is.
Hey, how about that? Again, I know we've gone way longer than we thought. How about
what's a few more minutes? We're already 20 minutes over what we wanted to do. We already.
How about Chiefs' decision to not run a single kickback?
I love it.
I thought that was interesting.
Give the ball to your quarterback.
Do it.
And Richie James had a few good punt returns too, and a couple good
Richie
catches.
James is fine. Richie James.
That's the one I was going to bring up earlier. To me, he's. I know he was suspended. He's number 4 now. Like he needs to be 4 and figure out how to become 3 when you don't need
him and
Justin
KT
Watson.
can split. Him and KT can split the snaps. For all I'm concerned.
And then heck, Justin Ross is back after today.
Stop it.
So he hasn't touched the football field in months.
Dude couldn't touch the field when he wasn't in trouble with these bums, and now we're gonna ask him to come out.
Has he even been on grass in like 60 days?
Dude, I don't know, man.
I already saw an article earlier today. I think it was.
Let him go to San Francisco this offseason and become a stud. Like let that happen. I won't lose any sleep over it. I won't lose any sleep over it.
This year, that's just dead. He ain't about to
yeah. I won't lose any sleep.
If next year they decide to get him integrated and we keep him here, and he because obviously we know he can make plays, he has to get on the field. If next year we see him, he has 2 off seasons to get under his belt. He gets ready. I'm down for it. But
he's going to be the next Jody Fortson. The fan base will like him. He'll make a few great plays in preseason, but somehow
as long as he scores in the regular season, I'm cool.
Yeah. I think Fortson would be a huge addition to this year too if he was.
That's our 13 personnel. That's why I want Zach. Like it's a minimal move, like Chris said. But for our offense, it changes everything. For another offense, like for Baltimore, I think it does nothing. For Philly, I think it does nothing. For us, I think it's a lot because we need another reliable receiver or just a pass catcher in general, and someone we know who can run the correct routes. So for us, I think it's a bigger. It moves the needle more for us than it would for another team, in my opinion. Like in Philly, I think he does nothing. They have so many great weapons. He's not gonna really make a big difference. Baltimore, they've already
fans
established who they
absolutely
are.
love him. I think that's a fact.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
like,
the fan
and,
favorite.
and he knows him. Like everybody on the team would come in and embrace him. We know he can play. He's a guy that's been on Super Bowl rosters. He's been in big moments. He knows what to do, what not to do. He's been the guy he's been a veteran tight end and the young tight end, so he knows exactly how to operate in that mold. It makes complete sense for us, and he's cheap. So like, it makes most sense to me. I would love Zach to come here.
And he was taking 30 picks before Travis Kelce, so Travis can be like, bro, this could have been you.
You know, tight end Brent Selleck, Zach Ertz, not Trav. So
Yeah,
and he knows how to pick his tight end. So I'm sure Beach is working the phone. I hope they get him in. If I get an alert that says Zach Ertz sign him with us, I'll make him watch.
You gotta think like they gotta at least be.
I'll be excited, I guess. I don't know.
I'll be excited. I'll be excited.
I like Zach Ertz. Like Zach Ertz was one of my favorite guys to watch when he on those Eagles. But again, it's just it's at the point to where we're talking about a tight end similar age as Travis, who's clearly lost a step, learning a new-ish offense, and with 4 games to go. Like, I don't know, man. When you already clearly backup tight end is not your issue, because we all agree that Noah Gray's the 4th best option probably on the team.
It's literally just a bonus.
So
yeah, but if you do sign Ertz, you could probably sneak Bell back onto the practice squad for depth, and then in case Kelce goes down or has whatever, you've got a more reliable tight end threat than Blake Bell.
Exactly.
Who's taking Blake Bell anywhere? I don't know, man. I got a couple players that I just roll my eyes on, and they aren't even the ones most of the fan base does. Anyway, let's wrap this up. I'm Christopher Tippett at 10penny88. That's CJ Jones at CGZ81. Keegan, you take us out of here because you got the great outro with all the places they can find more stuff on us.
Yes, so go check us out, KCSA, KC Sports Authority podcast. Of course, this is the Aftermath podcast with these two guys here. But go check us out, KC Sports Authority, over here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Need your guys' help to get us to 250 subscribers before Christmas. We're about a dozen away, so it'll only take a couple of you doing it right now. And then I promise once we get to 250, we're going to have some exciting things to help further grow the channel, some giveaways and things like that. Got a lot of things planned, so hit us up. Follow us, like, subscribe. You can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at KCSA Pod. Got a lot of fun stuff coming up here in the next few weeks. It's bowl season coming up here for college football. Chris and I are going to have a potential couple episodes talking about that. KU football has their big bowl game. I have a guest lined up to talk that preview. KU basketball, of course, in the middle of their season, which will have plenty more of that. NBA talk coming. Just a lot of fun stuff, and it would be really fun for us if you guys go check us out and give us a subscription and have fun doing the rest of the season. Well, guys, thanks for letting me join you guys tonight. Yeah, this has been the Aftermath on the KC Sports Authority YouTube channel.
Oh, geez.